I'm in a high-tech facility in Chennai, which is the offices of the Agnikul Cosmos Private Limited, an Indian space startup. And this is the rocket Agnibaan, which is going to have a launch very soon in a suborbital manner. There are many firsts in this rocket. One of them comes from this 3D printing machine behind me. And I have with me Mr. Moin, SPM. He is a founder of this Agnikul startup. And Mr. Moin, how is Agnikul gearing up for its first launch?
First of all, thank you for having me, sir. Yes, we are gearing up for our first launch. It's going to be a suborbital tech demonstrator. We are calling it this as Agnibaan sorted. That's what we are calling this as. Which means basically when we do our orbital flight, all the systems have been qualified in this test. That's exactly what we are targeting.
So the rocket, your model looks something like this?
Yes, this is a mock-up model of the orbital flight. The one that we have that is going to be tested pretty soon, that is going to feature one engine that has actually come straight out of this machine.
What is this machine?
So it's a 3D printer. So we actually manufacture the engines here. And this is the place where you manufacture engines, and the engines will be operated in space. So it takes us around 3 days to manufacture an engine in this particular machine. Yes, we do have the pre-processing and the post-processing along with the processes of the 3D printing. But having built a rocket engine in, let's say, around 2 weeks is actually the coolest way of innovation, is what we think.
Now, you have a part in your hand. Is this 3D printed?
Yes, the part that I have in my hand is also 3D printed. This is an igniter of the engine. Similarly, we have 3D printed the entire rocket engine. So a rocket engine has almost nearly 1,000 parts. So if we print independently and try to conventionally manufacture this would take us somewhere around 6 months, and it would take us another 3 months to qualify each of the parts. And then you have to fuse them together as well. Now for us, with this machine, we are being able to manufacture, as I told you, in 3 days, complete an entire process in 2 weeks. And we have a production capacity of at least 8 engines per month.
Wonderful. Let me hold this and savor this particular part, which is 3D printed and a beautiful looking part. And let us now walk around and see. Now, what is the hallmark of Agnikul's rocket? What is your speciality? Why is it the world getting excited by your rocket?
So there are a lot of things, sir. So I'll start with something that is very close to us. One is the semi-cryogenic part. So we've had options to choose to go between solids and liquids. We chose to go the liquids way because I think that's how the entire world is also going, and it is more feasible to scale up and down as you wish, and it has a lot of more benefits such as reusability and all of these parts. And we would be complementing ISRO in this because we have seen ISRO doing a lot of stuff on the solids as well as they're working on the liquids part as well. But this flight will be the India's first semi-cryogenic flight. And there's a twist to it as well. The propellants that we use are liquid oxygen and aviation turbine fuel actually.
Meaning the same fuel which airplanes use.
Exactly. So there's a fuel that is being used by the airplane. We'll be using it to propel ourselves to go to space. And the liquid oxygen is just medical grade liquid oxygen, the ones that are being used in the hospital. So the idea is you use consumables, the propellants that are easily available, you put them and you're ready to go to space. That's the first thing that I would like to highlight.
But your rocket is small.
Correct.
Your payload capacity is small.
Correct.
Why should people launch such small satellites, and why should they come to you?
So there are two things. So first, before they used to build big satellites, right? And they used to go to orbits such as GEO. Then there's a shift in the market trend itself. Now they build small satellites. That's because you don't want to risk all your eggs in one basket. So you can have a relay of constellations and still do the same job. And even if one part of your satellite is not working, you can still launch again and fulfill it again. So which means the electronics have been shrinking. Similarly, the satellites have also shrink in size over the period of years.
And come to lower orbit.
And then they've come closer to Earth. So our understanding is in the future it will still shrink down. And you definitely need smaller rockets. That's where we came in with this concept of building small rockets. And more importantly, we've always seen something called as a ride-share business model in this particular industry. So the small satellite manufacturers were only considered after the vehicle was filled. But right now, even the small satellite manufacturers can have an opportunity to be an owner of their own mission. They could have dedicated launches for themselves. So that was the idea. And we saw this in the recent aspect as well, that data is everything. And more importantly, Earth observation and communication satellites are the best way to actually get the data. And that's how exactly things are.
Now, is this also a model where you can have a launch on demand?
Exactly, sir. Because as I told you, it takes only lesser time for us to manufacture the engines and pretty much everything. We are focusing on on-demand launch vehicles. So that's why we have also built something called as a mobile launch pad, which we call it as Dhanush. So our vehicle is called Agnibaan, which means an arrow of fire. Dhanush means where you can launch it. So our aim is our tagline goes like launch anywhere, anytime and affordably. Anywhere is wherever you want. Anytime is basically on demand, and affordably is what we are. We are from a country that actually can do stuff, even greater technologies at an affordable price. That's what it is.
I wish you luck in your first launch, which will be a very interesting launch because you have the first private launch pad sitting inside India's main rocket port at Sriharikota, and the world and India are waiting to see a good launch from you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
So that was Moen SPM, one of the co-founders of Agnikul, telling us why Agnikul is cool and why India and the world is excited, because their rockets can be done on demand, affordably, and with using materials which are not very expensive. The Indian startup ecosystem in space has revved up big time, and Agnikul